some technical issues with some of the participants having not received the Zoom address. All right, so we'll let them stroll in. Time now is we're 3 minutes past and we are late. Okay, while the rest of it come in, I'll just briefly introduce myself. I'm Dr. Goh from President of BCM Institute. Speaker today will be Kenneth Yap. I believe you have seen his CV. Last corporate job was Senior Vice President with Government of Singapore Investment Corp. All right, so the rest of the details are there. And let me start today's session. Again, thank you for attending the session. The objective of this session is basically we know haze is coming in various form and various degree, and hence this was actually projected about 6 months ahead of time. All right, so the idea is just to, if it doesn't hit us yet, just think hard. If it hit for some of the people, especially in Malaysia, I believe you guys have gone through 1 or 2 rounds already. So this is nothing new, and what should have been done and not done, we'll discuss again. Okay, same thing, please highlight your name. Any name that's not highlighted in the acronym or not, we will just ask you to sign up, and then if not, we'll bounce you off. All right, now, I'll be moderator for today. The session will start with the introduction to BCM Institute, then we'll follow by the presentation. We have received a fair amount of questions, and I want to tell you the last 5 questions, we just got it over the last 2-3 days. All right, so I will cover those 2-3 if Kenneth have not covered. Okay, so today's session is how do we implement BC? Business continuity is nothing new to all of you, except from a haze perspective. All right, so this is where we are coming from. Okay, next, same thing. This webinar forum will be continued to run in 2024. For your information, what is going to happen next in 2024? We will focus a lot on operational resilience, cyber resilience from a BC perspective. Okay, for incident response perspective, we'll talk about IT disaster recovery, and we may come back to basic BCM series. All right, there are a few things that I'm beginning to see is that a lot of people are really looking at example BIA, right? And testing, exercising, and all these things. So I think sounds very fundamental, but I think there will be a slight change in view of a lot of banks around Asia moving towards operational resilience, right? MTE 2024, we will continue to develop BCM profession as in general, but when I say BCM, it includes crisis management, ITDR, BCM, and lately operational resilience. This is the latest latest product or topic that we are bringing for BCM professional. A word of caution.
Sorry, yes? Are you sharing your screen? It's still static, showing the background.
Sorry. Can you see my screen? Let me stop share.
Yes, we can see the screen.
Try again. Can you see my screen now?
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, just here, yeah.
Okay. Good. Yep.
I've gone through this. These are the topics that we're going to cover in 2024. Okay, anyone has any new topics, please highlight to us. Slides will not be provided. You guys, all of you will be, once you submit the evaluation form, you will have a full summary of what Kenneth has presented, all right, with some additional support material if needed. Okay, insert your names. Objective is to share as much information as possible. Remember, 1 hour is very short. Hence, that's the reason why we collect all the questions first, and then we embed it into the presentation. Now, last part, I'll ask all of you to do me a favor. I'm going to ask, what have you learned from here? Especially, just be truthful. So what you like, what you don't like, doesn't matter. Just put in as 2 or 3 statement highlighting your view of this entire presentation. Okay, we are not offended, so don't have to be worried about it. Okay, next, this is what we run in 2022, where we have COVID. Okay, from a country perspective, and anything that COVID has affected our supply chain, our financial institution, our for a cyber perspective. In 2023, actually, we did quite a fair bit, a bit more. We went deep in. We went to the Middle East, and we start to have operation resilience. And basically, what is the basic? and what is the how is Hong Kong implementing it. For Filipino friends and our Singapore, Hong Kong, 3 countries, and Japan has fully the central bank has actually enacted, and Operation Resilience is now a requirement. All right, I believe people in Malaysia and Indonesia and the rest of Asia is coming. So just be forewarned that Operation Resilience become part and parcel of a bigger picture for business continuity. And the last one we had was with Siti Baizura. She was explaining how to, this is a localized version where how do you implement BCM with respect to a BCM policy issued in December 2022. All right, so what we're going to cover today will be the haste. And the last session that we'll be covering, which is coming in a month's time, will be how do you audit and review a BC plan. All right, so that will be our last session for 2023. Okay, the Institute, as most of you know, we are actually predominantly in Asia and Middle East, and we do education, certification, and thought leadership. Some of the webinars actually are ahead of the curve. So what we have, for those who are new to us, we have BCM, we have audit, we have BCM, we have crisis communication, crisis management, and DR. Lately, we just introduced Operation Resilience. This course is we're running a second run now in last quarter of this year. Okay, anyone wants just take it offline? All our courses are similar. So we have 4 modules. It's a 4-module course. So we have module 1, which gives you the planner fundamentals. We have module 1 and 2, which give you the implementer, or what we call you become a coordinator. The last one, of course, you are managing this program. Alright, so all our programs are lined up in terms of module 1 to 4 for those who have not seen us before. Okay, this is basically how we are trying to highlight to you the entire program in BCM Institute. People who are doing BCM will be here. People are doing crisis management will be here. People doing crisis communication will be a composite of all. Okay, so this is just a quick integration. And the ones that we're moving towards Operation Resilience, just think of it, the whole products that we are offering. Operation Resilience become an end-to-end process with a view in life. Okay, so we need to know customer-centric to the last part, which is what is this product or outcome going to look like before, and it must filter through the third-party risk, which is manage your outsourcing agent, the third party, whoever that's helping you. So if you think of a simplified version of Operation Resilience, this is the picture. But what we are doing is we are doing component by component. Okay, you have just have OR 101. Okay, I'm just going to jump through this. Okay, what I'm going to do now is, there's a fair bit of things to cover for this course, this webinar. I'll hand you over to Kenneth. And Kenneth, over to you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Goh. Good afternoon, everyone.
Just before that, can we have everybody to show face? We have a shot before we start. Can you just hold your screen? Okay, everybody, can you each have your face for a while? Bunny, think of it as a 10 and 7 having a group photo. That's all. Okay, everybody show screen, unless you're working in the Ministry of Defense. Show. Yes, thank you. Some more. Yes. If Bunny, once you're ready, just give us a signal. Thank you. Okay, over to you, Kenneth.
Right, thank you, Dr. Goh. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you see my screen? Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. Thank you
Yes,
very
yes.
much. Okay, thank you for the confirmation. All right. Again, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Goh, for inviting me to speak on this topic, right? When I was first informed that this talk would be around this time, end of October, the first thing that came to mind was, end October, with a little bit of luck, right? That should be around the arrival of our wet weather season, largely due to the northeast monsoon, usually around between end November and March for Singapore and Indonesia regions, as well as some parts of Malaysia, right? So, well, for those of you in this region, you will know, right, that luck is with us. The weatherman, as I speak, I think it's raining here, okay? So the weatherman forecasted wet weather ahead of us. Hence, the risk of haze is significantly lower. So I actually anticipated this, okay? And with this as the background and the synopsis provided, I thought perhaps I should position this talk from a different perspective, not just on the implementation of business continuity for haze, which I will, right? But also other considerations. So you'll probably be wondering what they are, right? So stay tuned, okay? So before I do so, all right, there's always housekeeping, okay? So I would like to share, okay? I would like to share these two slides. This is so that we can learn and share in an open and safe environment. Hence, number one, the Chatham House rule will apply in this presentation, okay? And number two, this disclaimer, right? I need to make sure that this is my independent opinion, all right? You should be able to see quite a number of extracts that I'll be sharing. They are from third party, and I recognize where they are from, okay? So although I did not validate them, but they are reliable sources, okay? And last but not least, please consult the relevant professional for any specific advice or situation that you are in. Okay, so without further ado, all right, let's begin. So this will be the agenda. I'll start by providing you with some backdrop as the introduction. Then I will share what I think we should learn from past episodes, not only managing haze, especially, in Singapore, 1997, 2013, and 2015, and we almost got hit again this year, but also, right, learning from the recent COVID-19. Yes, you heard it right. Learning from COVID-19 as well. You'll probably be wondering why I weave in COVID-19. I'll share with you later, right? Then next, specifically on preparing for haze, what are some of the considerations I think? And I will conclude with looking ahead. So you realize my conclusion is not about what I cover, but what lies ahead. After that, I'll hand the session back to Dr. Goh to moderate the Q&A. So at this juncture, I would like to take this opportunity to thank those who submitted your questions during the registration. I will attempt to answer those questions in my presentation. All right, so let's start. Now, this was taken around September. I think it's still valid. If you look at the current situation, is still very much similar, although the wet weather is helping us. Now, on this map, if you place a finger or you visually put yourself where you are geographically, all right, and you'll be able to see all those red dots are the land and forest fires around you. Okay, so what does this mean? Look at the statistics. they are taken from the Straits Times. Close to 4,000 of such fires in Indonesia islands. It's still very much valid, yeah, okay? About 200,000 cases of respiratory illnesses in South Kalimantan alone, and a further 4,000 new cases in South Sumatra in August from July. All right, so look at the health ailments that is causing us. And this is just Indonesian. How about within this region, including Singapore and Malaysia? So not just our health, right? I'll say closer to home because I'm in Singapore. How about economic losses? So recently, Channel News Asia published this study by a university in Singapore, NTU, all right, showing the impact on Singapore's GDP, a whopping 1.34 billion out of about US 300 billion total GDP in 2015. So notice this is based on 2015, right? Because that was the last that hit Singapore very badly. And what does this 1.34 billion consist of? All right, tangible damages such as adverse impact on health, which I mentioned earlier on Sumatra and North Kalimantan. Loss in tourism, we all know that, right? Productivity loss due to restricted activity, right? And costs to mitigate and adapt by government agencies and household. That's not all right? And there is a further US dollar 0.36 billion loss in recreation and scenic views. You know what I mean, okay? To top it all these figures did not include mental health related losses. So for example, loss from working from home. Okay, for parents, you will know what I mean, all right? The stress, okay, the stress that they are getting with their school-going children doing home-based learning as well. So they are all trying to do all this simultaneously, most of the time from the home, and so on and so forth. So we encountered and learned so much about all this as well during our COVID-19. So don't underestimate mental health issue. Okay, I read another report somewhere. World Health Organization reported that the global economy loses about $1 trillion every year in decreased productivity due to mental health issue. Now, how about for this? Okay, this is the latest horizon scanning survey conducted by BCI last year. So the survey result showed that severe weather, which include, okay, there are many like floods, heat wave, hurricane, tornadoes, and include wildfires, okay, was still a concern. While we can understand, all right, you look at the top, okay, it's still talking about COVID-19 and about the tension. So while we can understand the world is still not out of the woods yet for COVID-19 pandemic, but we need to be aware of the changing risk landscape. So for example, climate change, growing tension, conflicts, the war that are currently happening in Ukraine, Russia, and more recently, the Israel and the Hamas. How about cyber attack, supply chain disruption that we all experienced during the COVID as well? Have we all forgotten about this because of COVID-19? I read another study somewhere, all right? The World Meteorological Organization reported that, I quote, the number of extreme weather events increased by a factor of 5 in the past 50 years and is still increasing. It is a subject that should always remain on corporate agendas. Many organizations have yet to consider the chronic threat of these climate changes in their planning strategies, unquote. So what, right? You may be asking right now, sharing with you all this background. The survey, all right, the same survey, the BCI survey, showed that these are the top 5 impact over the past 12 months when they did this survey, all right? And you can see the top consequence was a negative impact on staff morale, well-being, and mental health at 61.8%. If you look down, some of you may be wondering, those of you who are good in mathematics will be wondering, right? Hey, how come the number add up to more than 100%? Okay, this is correct because the respondents are allowed to choose more than one answer from the list provided. That's why you see more than 100%, right? But the long and short is that I'm just trying to highlight here what's the consequence of the disruption, and staff morale, well-being, and mental health came up top. Okay. So with all these as a backdrop, I hope I've given enough, okay? What are the expectations from your stakeholders, whether it's internal, external, your shareholders, your management, your employees, the community at large, doesn't matter, from past episodes? Given that there's little that we can do to prevent transboundary haze, but what an organization can focus on, I think, is adaptation. All right, you can gear up preparing efforts for the haze, such as stockpiling the N95 masks, installing of air filtration system, and providing haze shelters. These efforts are deemed more significant than in the past because an organization has to learn from past episodes that a prepared organization will mitigate damages, particularly on mental health and well-being. So at this juncture, you probably be wondering, what is Kenneth talking about, right? Okay, don't forget our experience with the pandemic, okay, have also prepared us to take more actions at workplace, right? I believe all of you will agree with me. So for example, here you can see a list. I've got 5 bullet points here, giving you from a different perspective, wearing different lens. So for example, within the organization, we all learn about restriction of activities. So for COVID-19 is more indoor, but for haze, the reverse is true, right? It's all about restricting outdoor activities, especially for children, right? Active support, whether it's a haze or whether it's COVID-19, for work from home. For those who are school-going children, the home-based learning, right? Staff welfare from all the burnout and commuting when PSI, the Pollution Standard Index, at 6, XXX there is deliberate because it really depends on the appetite of your organization, right? Some organization I know of, the moment it hits the unhealthy range, they will activate their BCP. Some will allow more, higher than the unhealthy range before they activate. But some, to err on the cautious side, will activate even before it reaches the maximum PSI level. So it varies from organization to organization depending on the appetite of the organization. How about timely communication? All right. It works for COVID-19, similarly for haze as well. All right. You know that the haze level can just change, condition can change very quickly because of the wind direction. All right. And last but not least, in this aspect about digital transformation. We'll touch more about digital transformation later. How about within line of business? Has your organization empowered supervisors to exercise judgment, especially for vulnerable individuals? For haze will be what? All those with lung illnesses, right? Elderly, right? So all this comes into consideration. How about individuals? Working from home to you is home as a workplace. From a business continuity perspective, is actually remote working, all right? Or home as a workplace, working from home is BAU. Think about it, all right? Flexible work arrangement, all right? Has the employee been empowered with some form of flexible work arrangement? Employee well-being and welfare, I mentioned time and again, the burnout, right? The workplace, IAQ, indoor air quality, okay? One of you asked the question, with technology improving in building, can the air quality be treated better? Perhaps I'll put it this way. The related question, I will rephrase the question, all right, if I get it right, is I suppose we are talking about whether we are treating, all right, the air quality at source, okay, or okay, at your standalone site, which is in your office per se. Increasingly, I'm aware that building owners, right, especially if you're a tenant, all right, take note of this. I'm aware that building owners are treating the incoming fresh air intake that get mixed into your aircon, all right, as well as the circulating indoor air, which you call it the aircon in the office, coming from the air handling unit, right? They are treated with the HEPA, HEPA filtration system. Okay, so I hope I answered that question from one of the participants, okay, on the indoor air quality. How about policies on data compliance and governance with the pervasive work from home and digital transformation, as well as the risk of cyber attacks? Have we learned anything from it? And what is the expectation from the stakeholders for all this that we learned from? So, what does all this mean to an organization, right? In my opinion, we can consider this in the following 4 phases. Strategy, which to me, in my opinion, is the overarching. Principles, what are the drivers? Your crisis management or your business continuity management response, your approach, and validation and after action review. Earlier I shared is about draw learning from past as well as from COVID-19 that I shared earlier. So what are all these 4, what does this 4 entails? So let me share with you one by one, right? So at the strategic level, from business continuity perspective, have your organization define your corporate MBCO. Okay, so for those of you who are familiar with the business continuity, MBCO, you know what I mean is minimum business continuity objective. Based on there's no right or wrong answer, right? It's all about your organization's appetite. Okay, especially so if you are in the tourism, aviation, and then you can see in this slide here, construction industries, or if your primary business are generally conducted outdoor. So those should be your concern areas, right? And thanks to Dr. Goh, all right, so for those of you who actually pick up during the intro, Dr. Goh mentioned something about being operationally ready. Okay, I'm going to introduce this as well. How about being operationally resilient? Have your organization identified? So I picked this definition up from most of the financial regulators, yeah, okay? And some call it the important critical business. Some call it the critical business services. Some call it the critical operation. but generally, I think they mean the same thing. That if disrupted, could, right, cause intolerable harm to your client, or likely to significantly impact the organization's safety and soundness, or cause financial loss, damage, or interruption to the delivery of the goods and services essential to your organization continue operation or success, right? So in essence, why your organization exists, right? So that is the strategic level. Moving on, next will be, what are the drivers or principles that your organization is adopting, right? Your employees' well-being, welfare that I shared earlier so much. Have your organization thought about, for example, your operational and supply chain resilience, learning from all this? Is your organization nimble in your operations? Can digital transformation help? Correct? Perhaps your organization previously have been procrastinating on some digital upgrade or implementation, all right? Will the speed up of this transformation help? How about balancing between remote working versus office as a hub, right? Why I mentioned this is that typically we all know, right? Office as a hub, if you appear in person in the office, this is where organizations typically build their organization culture, all right? And it takes place face-to-face in the office versus if you do it virtually, remote working, right? You lose the essence of it. So similarly, remote learning, right? What's the appetite of the organization from a remote learning and training from home perspective? Just like this webinar, which is conducted remotely, all right? And I'm quite sure some of you will be, I'm quite sure you are participating from everywhere, okay? On the move, in the office, at home, it doesn't matter, right? And that's the power of technology. So with the digital transformation and remote working, work from home, okay, I mentioned earlier, how about consideration about data security and privacy? They need to be considered seriously if you have not done so, right? How about any possible public-private collaboration, especially with government agencies? For example, sustainable practices. Work together to enforce regulation. Last but not least, you see here will be regulatory requirements. For example, are there any policies or guidelines within your organization on working with individuals and entities, right, in the UN Security Council sanctioned list on environment? Okay, for those of you who are not familiar, typically UN has got this sanctioned list, right, and it covers quite a few areas, including environment, I just mentioned, diplomatic, economic, and military, okay? But here, I'm referring to largely on environmental. So let's move on, okay? Third part, I believe, I personally believe most of the organizations will have some sort of a response plan, okay? Whether it's crisis management or your business continuity management plan, right? If you have, good. If you have not, maybe these are some of the considerations, and you'll be able to see the 6R, which Dr. Goh shared earlier as well, okay? And I've also included leadership as part of the crisis management. So is your crisis management leadership in place within the organization, right? With specific roles and responsibility. Delegated, if it is delegated, all right, who is it delegated to? Do they know? Right? Is it delegated to the line of business, to the individuals, etc.? Okay, and of course, crisis management leadership include making the call to activate the business continuity plan if there's a requirement, okay, or activate your crisis plan. Have you done your risk assessment and mitigate the risk accordingly? One of you asked, Okay, one of you asked in the question is, what's the main difference between haze versus flood? Okay, so in my opinion, I think the main differences are in haze event, one can likely still commute to workplace. All right, the word is likely, still commute to workplace. Why? Of course, you have to take the necessary precaution like wearing the N95 mask. Okay, if your organization have a policy that you can take the taxi or the private hire, right, door to door to minimize the exposure to the contaminant, all right? And also, in a haze kind of situation, there will be unlikely damages to people, processes, and infrastructure. That's really what business continuity is all about, right? Okay. Whereas flood, it is likely that you are unable to go on site. Flood. Okay, but even if you take a boat or whatever, right? What can you do in the workplace, right? There's a high probability that perhaps your workplace is not available. Some of your equipment or machineries, right, may be down as well. Okay. Have you also, okay, I hope I've answered that question, all right, the differences. Have you also determined the critical business function to perform and their dependencies, not just within, but the dependencies as well. And the dependencies is not just internal, all right? I'm also talking about dependencies on third parties, fourth parties, especially if your organization outsource and your outsourced vendor outsource their services as well. Okay, that's where the fourth party come into play. What is the business continuity strategy your organization is going to adopt at a different haze level, right? We all know have got different haze level, right? At which juncture you will activate your remote working? Is it from the onset? I doubt so, right? How about telecommuting? Or alternate work location, like, there are so many co-working offices, all right, which can be somewhere near your home, right? In Singapore especially, many of the co-working sites are embedded. They are located within shopping centers, right? And you and I know that shopping centers, right, are usually quite near our workplace, right, relative to workplace and the shopping center. Are your plans ready if you have a plan? Okay, not just a plan, your business continuity plan. How about your emergency response plan, your alert and warning notification, the supply chain contingency plan, and so on and so forth? How about communication? Earlier, I mentioned about timely communication, right? With your stakeholders, internal, external, right? As well as the community. Last but not least, training and awareness. A plan is only a plan unless the people, I repeat, unless the people involved know what to do during such an event. Okay, and if I can add on to this, I would also suggest to also consider cross-training and succession planning. This is because people move and change frequently. And my last consideration, okay, remember, draw learning from past haze and COVID-19. I shared many examples earlier, wearing the different lens, okay? Have you tested your plan with realistic scenario? What do I mean by realistic scenario? Okay, can it possibly be just a haze, all right, which I believe most of you plan for, okay? Or it could be a combination of disruption. Yes, combination of disruption, okay? Example, haze plus data center outage, all right? For those of you in Singapore, you will know what I mean. What if haze and that data center outage happen to your organization simultaneously, right? Have you considered those kind of scenarios? How about a haze plus by a cyber attack? All right, and we all know all these scenarios, right, are heavily dependent on individuals who are equally vulnerable during such events. Thereafter, okay, after you have conducted your test, validation with realistic scenario, okay, whatever you call it, debrief, hot wash, after action review, it doesn't matter, right, etc., etc. Not just identifying areas for improvement, all right? I know many organizations during the debrief, you know, they just focus on areas for improvement, right, and areas that did not they did not do so well. Okay, but we should also focus on areas, okay, that are positive to take away. For example, okay, employee, all right, is likely to appreciate organization who actually give them regards, right, due regards to the duty of care, welfare, support, policy on flexible remote working, and so on and so forth. So remember, AAR debrief or hot wash is not just about all the negative. Remember, there are positive as well. So these are the 4 considerations that I have. I hope beyond having your HASTE business continuity plan in place, your organization would have considered some of the, if not, do give it some thought, really, okay? So conclusion, I added here is looking forward and planning ahead, okay? Like what I started earlier, now wet days are ahead, then the question will be, we can brief somewhat easy, right? When the HASTE threat is significantly lower right now, then do we then put HASTE readiness aside for now? Okay, so you can see from the header there, I've indicated what's in it for me. Okay, for those of you who know this term, good for you. If not, then everything is about what's in store for you, right? Okay. This is one of the questions, all right? I thought it's a very good question, all right? This is one of the questions posted by one of you. Essentially, what can the community do, all right? Is prevention better than cure? In my opinion, integrating environmental sustainability and robust supply chain policies into your business operation is not just a strategic choice. It is an ethical imperative. It's critical, right? HASTE events and their environment and health impact are a reminder of the need to prioritize sustainable practices and preparedness. By adopting sustainable practices, such as reducing our carbon footprint and minimizing pollution, we not only contribute to a healthier environment, but also enhance the resilience of our business. On the other hand, having a sustainable supply chain policy allows us to identify vulnerabilities and build resilience into our, for example, procurement and distribution processes. So in the context of HASTE events, in my opinion, these policies are not merely good practices. They are our lifeline to business continuity and our commitment to the well-being of our employees and the communities we serve. They demonstrate our responsibility as corporate citizens. Okay? Our journey towards a more sustainable and resilient future starts here, not end. Right? So let's remember that it's not only about preparing for the next HASTE event, but also about contributing to a world where such events become rarer. Okay? Then, never say never, right? I mentioned many times previously, prepare, prepare, and prepare. Okay? And don't forget to validate your plans with realistic scenarios. Lastly, draw parallel, for example, between the remote work and employee well-being strategies during the pandemic and their relevance to business continuity when the air quality is poor. So with this, I thank you for your attention. Hope you took away something from this session. And I purposely have this comic here. On a lighter note, there's always silver lining with haze as illustrated in this comic. I believe I've answered most or all the questions sent to us earlier in the presentation. I will now hand over the session to Dr. Goh. Dr. Goh, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, what I'm going to do now is on behalf of BCMC, just a quick thank Kenneth first. We have not ended the session. There are a few things I want you to do. I'm going to do this. Hang on, this. Okay, we're going to move into the Q&A session, but most important, in view of time, we have about 5 to 10 minutes left. What I want to do, it was the same thing that I mentioned earlier before we start this session. Quickly, just a feedback. Now, I want all of you to say, what have you learned from here? What have you not learned from here? You can actually post, try not to post long question. Just post what are the things that you may find useful. What can I say? Okay, so while I'm trying to summarize, all of you listen to me. Start going on to the chat and start posting your comment. What I've learned, what you like about this session, what don't like about this session. So quickly, give me about a few minutes just to summarize. I think the most important thing is the overarching threat assessment. I think most probably, haze is, to a lot of people, is Mickey Mouse. I'm going to warn you, Mickey Mouse, according to where you are. All right, look at all the hotspot, and it all depends on wind direction. Okay, any change in wind direction, I think our friends from Malaysia will be aware in certain areas whereby the wind direction change in Sumatra, it goes straight into your place for about 1 to 2 days. All right, so it has happened before. In Singapore, only happened for 1 day so far, touch wood. So that has happened. So please put in your put in your comments, everybody, and now, okay. The other summary is that I have 4 or 5 questions asked before I pass all the question to Kenneth. There are 2 very interesting questions. One question is this: a few of you asked is, what's the difference between BC business continuity, the typical business continuity, and haze? All right, so I'm going to just answer a very simple question. Find out where you are. Are you in Indonesia? Are you in Sumatra? Are you in Singapore? Are you in Singapore East or West? Or are you in Malaysia? All right, so you need to know where you are. And there's actually 2 or 3 levels according to tiering, right? Or according to your governmental tiering. The most important thing is at different tier, what are you, how do you respond? So back to what Kenneth said, a lot of us don't know how to trigger. Okay, there's no trigger because the haze is coming, you do not activate your plan, right? So you need to know how to trigger, so what we call a soft trigger, and then when it comes to there's an emergency response or incident response. All these are something you have already, except now, please focus on haze. Now, the most important thing, people are still asking a question, what is the difference still? I have a problem answering this question because for some of you in some of our Philippine friends, you will not get it, but you get different kind of pollution, right? But think of it as contextualizing as a air quality or even like example volcano eruption, right? The whole your whole environment get closed off, quite similar to haze but worse. Okay, so these are just example of what I want to do. Always based on your central plan, and from your central plan, please continue to add on. Okay, everybody, just continue to post on. Okay, what I'm going to just the other things to look for is that most of you just be forewarned. Business continuity, crisis management, incident response is going to be subsumed into operational resilience. Okay, so just be forewarned. Most of you will either go up of the ladder and you may end up being a chief operating officer. All right, so I'm just going to give you a hint that this position is going to go higher. The other thing, what you need to do is you need to think of a higher picture, a more strategic level, like mental health for organization. The moment you are able to actually advise on some of these issues, and also how does BCM ties in with sustainability? It is not a question of no following the trend. It's not a trend anymore. Sustainability is here to stay, and how do you continue with this how you progress with business continuity into to support this initiative, which is happening everywhere in the world. Okay, last but not least is the remote working. I think there's a lot of questions on remote working. I think it's political. I think one of our lady friends just dropped out. She was someone asked it. Okay, the most important thing about remote working is this, like what Kenneth has said. I think the only problem is cybersecurity. Okay, how many firewalls you have at your house, coming back to home, and so on and so forth. The fact that we have just came out from COVID, and a lot of us felt that as I have a couple of sessions, and the comment was, Dr. Goh, move on. COVID is over. I'm sorry, if you are in this business long enough, you never say it's over. You say what can I say after action report. I want to see what can we learn, what can we improve upon, even up to air quality. Yes, I agree. Air quality is something that we take for granted until we get COVID, right? Haze is also about air quality. Next question is, one good question, maybe it's better to come to work because office, there's aircon. I mean, we have a purifier. Correct. I'm not saying it's good, it's wrong. I'm saying the most important thing is take into consideration the most important thing, which is the better necessary evil. Remember, if you are going to come to office, how about your family? Okay, I assume you're a purifier at home. So you have to take care of your family. So don't think of yourself, but think coming to work is okay. You solve your own problem, but how about your family? Okay, so all these things it depends on which organization you're from, and the remote working should be here to stay. I think a lot of people are saying that my boss has asked me to move back. In my view, remote working is one of the strategy we have adopted thanks to COVID, and we are destroying it completely. Okay, so the only way I can ask you is actually be able to advise management that remote working is a good option. It allows that minimum capability to continue running in spite of the whatever incidents you're having in your organization, in your region. All right, so this is it. Okay, I'm not getting enough comment, so I hope everyone, please, once you bother to stay so long and just give us comment. The last thing is once you have given a feedback, I'm just going to show you something. Hang on. The last item I'm going to see is that there's a hang on, let me share this screen with you. I think there's a lot of questions asking on the technical part, the drill down version. Okay, I'm going to give you this this block when the feedback form is submitted, and then the events team will actually send you something. It's called table of content. This is a table of content. What I found useful was there's no way of kind of drilling down. So based on what he has mentioned, the planning methodology, what I'm going to tell you this is the table of content and there's 4 or 5 blocks. Okay, one of the block is how do you change the objective of haze? Okay, second thing is what's the scenario for a risk assessment in terms of what level of haze you're hitting. Again, it's a long story, so I'm not going to go through. And the only thing, like what just now we mentioned, prevention. We can prevent. When I say prevent, we cannot stop the haze from coming, but we can prevent, we can minimize the impact. All right, so remote working is one aspect of it. Working in the office is another good aspect, and so on and so forth. Last but not least is if something happens, what are the incident response plans? Okay, so all these are very drilled down version. Take a look and see whether it's relevant. Okay, haze may not come to some of you, but haze is something that we will get every other day. Okay, so time now is 3:58. What I want to do is, anyone has any question? Sorry. Okay. Okay, let me get out first. Okay, anyone has any question? Just continue writing. But don't tell us we're good or what. Just give your impact, your comments. All right. Anyone has any question? Time now is 3:58. As mentioned, we'll finish at 4 o'clock. All right. Nobody is keen. I hope more people are keen. At least now we know what you guys are looking for, and so on and so forth. Okay, if that is the case, I'm not going to spend too much time. Okay, on behalf of DCM Steel, thank you for attending this session. I hope this session is useful for most of you. What I will also want is some input. Most important case is this. The haze appears in different magnitude in different organization, different location. So your job is to actually have, to me, tier it 1, 2, 3, and then depends what to happen. Get management to get approval whether you work all from home or all from office, something like that. All right, so I leave that to you, depending on whether for some of cities with the haze, there's no transportation. Okay, there's no transportation. So basically, you must understand that if there's no transportation, even you want to come to the office, you can't. Right, so those are things that you need to consider. If you have public transportation, like Singapore, you can still do whatever you want. So that's something that you need to consider. Get it endorsed by management. That's what I want. That's my parting shot. Get it signed off, and then you adapt it when it happens. We have seen it in about 10 years ago. That was the worst case that we've seen. So everybody take note. All right, so I think that's about all. I once again, on behalf of DCM Steel, I'd like to thank Kenneth for taking off. I mean, he has experienced this all the time in GIC, okay, all around the world. So he has a lot to share, but 1 hour is a very short time. Okay, if not, then everybody, can we just have a thank you sign somewhere and just thank him, and then we'll call it off. Okay, everybody, take care. Yeah, that's what you need to do. Just wave, use the waving sign. Okay, if not, then thank you, everybody. Take care and have a nice day. Okay, take care. Bye. Thanks.
You're welcome, Dr. Goh.
Okay, so I'll talk to you again.
Yeah, okay. All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Okay, take care. Bye.